For looking at the anatomy of a grapevine, there's a few different parts that you'll want to take note of. This trunk actually started off, and we have two trunks here branching off of one, but they started off simply as being one single shoot. So you can see this is a shoot that was green this year, and this shoot has now started to harden off. It's turning brown. When the shoot starts to harden off like this, it becomes what we call a cane. Canes are like the building blocks of a grapevine. These trunks were at one point simply canes with buds on them. And what grew out of those buds close to the top, similar to just how there's this bud right here, were these two arms, one going to the left and one going to the right. You can see that this arm here is a little bit younger looking than this arm on this side. At one point, one whole arm was just a cane. This cane was brought over all the way to the side, and it had buds on it, just like you can see these little buds right here. These buds have the potential to create shoots. So at some point, this old spur here, which you can see is older than 1 year, was just a shoot that came out of this arm. There was one that could have come out here, but either broke off or just didn't really come out right. Here was another one, and it kept going all the way down. As those shoots grew out, they became woody. So you can see here, this is a 2-year-old spur coming out of this arm. And this spur at the beginning of this year probably looked a lot like this did. And these two shoots grew out of this spur. It was pruned right above here to force these two shoots to grow out. Now this next year, it's possible for this whole part to be chopped off and for this cane to be cut right here, mind the gourd to my side. When this gets cut off, similar to how we have two shoots that grow out of here that are now canes, we'll have one bud and a second bud coming out of here. You could actually have 3 if you wanted to. This particular system, called the vertical shoot positioning system, tends to have 2 to 3 buds per spur. So a spur, when it first starts off, is going to look like this cane here. But through time, as it gets cut back over and over again, it will become older, just like this. And eventually that might get renewed through pruning, where again, this whole thing might get lopped off and replaced perhaps by this one over here. You can see some beautiful clusters on this vine. Usually there's about 2 clusters per shoot that grows out from a cane that comes out of a spur. And then we have leaves on this grapevine. Some of these leaves are pretty healthy, others of these leaves are a little less healthy. Each one of these buds is known as a compound bud. The compound bud has at least 3 shoots in it. Some varieties can have more. The primary bud, the secondary bud, and the tertiary bud. The primary bud is most fruitful, but if it dies from winter injury, the secondary bud will take over. And similarly, if the secondary and primary buds have died, the tertiary bud will take over, which often doesn't bear fruit, but it still helps the vine to survive as it has leaves on it. This whole section where there is a leaf, a bud, and possibly like over here, we can see cluster, a leaf, and a bud on the other side, as well as this lateral branching shoot coming out. This whole section is called a node. So the node contains possibly a tendril, a leaf, a cluster, a bud, and sometimes a lateral shoot that emerges. Now, the space between buds as well as these nodes that contain the buds is considered an internode. You can see these 2 separate points. This is an internode. Sometimes people will just say the bud or they'll say node, but know that the node contains the bud and it contains possibly a leaf, a cluster, a lateral branch, as well as a tendril at certain times. So this is generally the basic anatomy of a grapevine. You'll hear the term the fruiting zone, which the fruiting zone or the cluster zone is really just this area here where you can see clusters growing. The whole vegetative canopy, however, really is about the mass area in which you can see from the top of the leaf zone all the way down to the cordon. Now you've learned the basic anatomy of a grapevine.